Hi, welcome back to our channel, and if you are new here, welcome to our channel. I'm Christina, your friendly Canadian immigrant, telling you all about Canadian immigration and my experience being a Canadian immigrant. Today is question and answer Tuesday. And today is the day where we take the time out to answer the questions that you ask in the comment section below on YouTube or on Instagram or on Facebook or through email. We have received a high influx of questions regarding the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, right? And understandably so, because we've been talking a lot about it. Click that little I and you'll see some more videos on the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program. And of course, check out the job list of all the jobs that are available by designated employer in Atlantic Canada. So here is this week's question. Christina, do I have to do my IELTS English test before I start looking for a job in Atlantic Canada? And you know, when I thought about this question, or when the first couple times someone asked that question came through, I was like, you know what? Schedule your test, but look for jobs that fall within your field in order to be kind of dealing with both at the same time. Now, whereas that is probably good advice, it depends on where you are in terms of what country you're in, because the English tests and the test dates vary by location and country. I just helped schedule an IELTS test, and we did it probably 3 weeks ago, and the earliest available date was in November. And that was like June. Okay, so July, August, September, October, November, 5 months away for the next possible date for the English test. Now, if you consider the processing time for the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, it is 6 months, but it's 6 months after you've submitted your application, right? So if you have to wait for 5 months before you can do the English test, before you can submit the application, that's a lot of time for an employer to wait for you to come to Canada. Now, I'm sure that they are offering jobs and doing job offers and all these wonderful stuff with the thought process that, you know, it's going to take some time for this person to get here. I don't need this person urgently. Hopefully, right? But let me walk you through really briefly what it entails to submit an application through the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, right? So we're going to go to the CIC website, and they have this wonderful PDF graphic purple colorful document that says, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 10, and you come to Canada. Yay! So we're going to go through that very briefly, and then from that determine, okay, when do I need to set my English test, and when in relation to doing an English test should I be applying for a job, depending on your country. And then we're going to go into how do you check when the next available date is based on your country, or even if there is a test center in your country, because I know some people from Bahamas, and unless something changed, there's no test centers in Bahamas. You have to go to Miami. And that was the last time I checked. Like, if it's changed, praise God. If it hasn't, you have to go to Miami or some other country to do the test, and there's no alternative in that country. So let's go to the CIC website. All right, CTNO. Here we are on the Canada government website, and we just Googled the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, and it's all the official information from the government on the program. And if you just scroll to the bottom here, it'll give you a nice guide for the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, right? And it's a wonderful PDF, nice, colorful purple document that runs you through a 15 step-by-step guide of the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program. And you know, it's separated into what's important for the employer, what's important for you as the employee, and then the actual application process, right? So you know, this part is less consequential to you because this would have already been done by the time you would have seen the job posting. So you know, the employer in Atlantic Canada who is interested, he submits a full-time job vacancy and contacts the province to express interest in becoming a designated employer. Then they contact a settlement services provider that helps them to prepare their workplace for you, the newcomer. Then the employer applies to the province to become a designated employer. So when you see them on the list, it is because they have expressed interest in being on that list, right? Then, the Atlantic provinces say, okay, fine, this employer is indeed a designated employer and we endorse you. Then the employer finds a recruit, which is you. So now, of course, they put out job offers and everything, and you apply for these job offers. And we know the programs that we had mentioned in our video about the Express Entry and Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program. There is the intermediate skill, which is all dependent on your job, your work experience, and your educational level. Same with the Atlantic High Skill Program, and then you have the International Graduate Program. And then we know, of course, that a labor market impact assessment is not needed, which is what makes this program so attractive. So here's where it is important for you now. Here's where you come in. Now the employer, of course, connects you after you've applied for that job offer that they have posted on our job list, is to say that, okay, let me connect you with a settlement services provider, right? So you're not alone in this. The employer has been prepared from step 2, and then they're going to come down here and help you on how to prepare. Now the candidate contacts the service provider, which is you, and say, help me to create a settlement plan to go to Atlantic Canada. And that's exactly what they do. They help you to create the plan based on your needs assessment. Then, of course, sending a settlement plan to your employer. And now is where your employer says, okay, you have a settlement plan, you have a job offer. Here is the document to support your permanent residency application, saying that we will hire you and you are settleable. And we had mentioned that in certain cases, you are able to get a temporary work permit, which is amazing, because then it means, therefore, that before your application is even processed, you can get a temporary work permit. That's if the employer is trying to fill the position relatively quickly, right? And then there are certain conditions that apply to apply for a work permit, and you can just consult the website for more information. So we're going to go there next. Then the province reviews and approves the endorsement and proceeds to send you an endorsement letter. So you say that all of this, you reach a number 11 and you still don't apply for permanent residency. So it's quite a bit of steps that are involved in this process, but that's okay, because it's simpler than having a labor market impact assessment, I promise you. So now, here's where you're going to apply to Citizenship and Immigration Canada for permanent residency. So you send in your application, and this is where you're going to attach your English test results, right? So you need this at this point here. Okay, so because you start the settlement services and all of that wonderful stuff, and getting your application in. Then your application is processed within 6 months or less, and then you get approved for your Canada. Yay, come to Atlantic Canada in purple. Beautiful. Then now you get to Canada, and based on your settlement plan, the employer helps you to integrate into the community and workplace and all of that stuff there, right? So a nice little 15 step-by-step guide on how the actual program works. So now the whole point of going through this is to determine, like, okay, when do I need to do my English test? No, it's going to depend on your country, right? It's going to depend on how long it takes to get the English test relative to how long it takes to get to this point in the application process, because this is where you need it. You also need it here. I thought that you could have bypassed it through the temporary work permit, but I went and searched application for temporary work permit, Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, and one of the things that you must have is a copy of an approved language test. So you definitely need it for the work permit, and you definitely need it for the actual permanent residency application. Now, depending on the country that you're in, will dictate how long it's going to take for you to get an IELTS test. So now you just Google book an IELTS test in your Google browser. The first thing that comes up is from the British Council official IELTS test website, right? And If you scroll to the bottom here, it says what country are you gonna do it in. I don't know, say, well, I always choose Jamaica because that's where I come from. So we chose Jamaica there, and of course they're telling you know the closest places, and one of the closest places is Trinidad and Tobago. Boy, them say it like it's a stone throw away, as if Trinidad and Tobago is close to Jamaica or even Cuba. But here are the test centers that are closest to Jamaica. There's 2 in Jamaica and there's 1 in Trinidad. So we're going to go all the way to the bottom here, and down here it'll give you the exact locations and availability in Jamaica. So now this date is automatically selected as the earliest date available. We're going to choose Kingston, and the module you're going to do is the general training module. Don't do the academic, they will not accept it, and unless something changes, always double check the information. But as far as we know right now, it is always a general training. And in Kingston, Jamaica, between September and December, which is to the end of the year, everything is full, closed. All right. So if you're taking this into consideration, it will take you at least 6 months, assuming that they will have available dates in January of 2020, to do your English test, right? And if you add that 6 months to this process, it probably makes more sense to start applying for jobs closer to the date that you're going to do this than now. Like right now, if you apply to a job right this minute and you get hired tomorrow, you won't be able to even get to the process of the application until January. But we don't know how long this process takes. We don't know how long it takes for settlement services provider to create your settlement plan. So that is a question that we're going to leave unanswered for this video, and we're going to answer it in the next question and answer video. Now, let us choose Montego Bay for all you Jamaicans curious as to when you can do a test. There is more hope in the Montego Bay city. There are available seats in November and December in Montego Bay under the general training. So you definitely want to apply for that really quickly before this becomes closed or full. So that is that with regards to doing the English test, when to do it. Now, when to apply for a job, I think would be closer to the time when you are actually going to do your English test, so that you're not waiting 6 months before you can even get to this point because of a lowly English test, even though you're from an English speaking country. The wonder. And in our next video, in our next question and answer video, which is a question that just came up from doing this video, is how long does it take for settlement services to create a settlement plan? If it's 6 months, then Bob's your uncle. But until the next video, we'll definitely answer that question. So I feel like in order of what should I do first, regardless of which program you're going through, or whichever program you're trying to come to Canada through, is to get your English test out of the way and get your educational assessment out of the way. The English test, based on which country you're in, might take the longest to schedule, and while you're waiting for the English test to happen, you get your educational credentials assessed. And the closer you get to the test date, the closer you get to getting all of that together, then you start applying for jobs. Now, this is not professional based advice, nor have I experienced this personally, right? This is just my opinion on how the whole process works based on the steps that the CIC document provided and what's there in black and white, okay? So I appreciate the time you've taken to watch this video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Remember to share it, spread the word. There's tons of people out there who are trying to understand Canadian immigration, trying to come to Canada and don't know where to start. And I'm not going to tell you that I'm an expert on it, but because I started and I'm here, I can share what I can share. And if I can't, I'll find somebody who can. Please remember to subscribe to our channel and join our immigrant community. And I will see you in the next video.